Hi, everybody. This is Allison from Alleycat Creations. How are you? Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet. And if you get anything from my work in Epiphany, connect the dot. A mind explosion. A new book to read, a new author to explore. Please consider supporting my work. All the links are at the bottom of the description. And if you're interested in epoxy artwork with gems and healing and protection, all the fun stuff is there. AlyCatCreations211.com is where you can check out my portfolio. And if you see anything you like, you can email me. I work with people and I'm not that expensive. I'm just trying to make a living. Hermit's Journey. It's been a while. It's been a long while since I last did one of these. I felt I was going to do a spiritual soul advice, but because this ties into the Hermit's Journey, I figured let's just roll with it. So Mother Gaia, the planet, is conscious and going through the dark night of the world soul itself. We're seeing it playing out in the theaters near you in front of us. And many of us, light workers, way showers, grid workers, the whole gamut of labels we give ourselves, we are going also through a dark night of the soul. It's a bunch of healing that's taking place. I've been channeled a lot in the last couple of weeks. My spirit guides are just reminding me, like, be compassionate with yourself, have grace with yourself. As we are up leveling, we're stepping up in initiation, we're clearing out karma, the old programs, indoctrination. And this is a cycle that's going to keep continuing and continuing and continuing because we have so many facets of our own selves that need healing that we thought we might have healed. But like I always say with the analogy of the lotus, each layer is unraveling as it starts to blossom. We clear a lot of stuff away, but there's still stuff that comes back up. It looks different because it involves different scenarios, just different things. So we're all going through this healing process and shedding the old self in order for the new self to incorporate the light that's coming in. The energies have been absolutely bonkers the last 2 months. You know, give or take, we got a little bit of a lull period and then it pumps back up and we go in a lull. And I talked about this in a lot of my videos that this is like a ping pong match. We meet the frequency, we hang out there for a little bit, and now some of us are holding that frequency a little bit longer. And then we drop down. It's like a sugar crash. Or if you do solicit drugs, which I don't recommend, please don't do that, stop. But if you know what that crash feels like, it's not healthy, it's not good, it sucks, but it's necessary for us to evolve. Recently, right before change happens, a lot of our paradigms shift and collapse. Mine's collapsing again. 2 years ago, I had major change. I had a major collapse. I had major calamity happen, and it's starting to repeat itself. Now I'm taking from that fear place that I was in because it was scary. I'm not going to lie. I was 97 pounds. I didn't have the support I thought I had from others, people that I could call family and lean on. They were crickets, cockroaches scattering. And I feel like I'm having the same exact scenario happen as inflation. And I'm very careful with what I have, but there is unexpected things that do occur in life. And a lot of unexpected things happened in the last year that kind of drained me financially. And it's not, inappropriate spending or doing. It's just, had shit happen and inflation happen and things tripled and quadrupled in pricing that I wasn't expecting. I also was waiting on a job that I could physically do, and I thankfully will start soon. But in the meantime, there's always that in between period. And a lot of us are going through this cycle, but a little differently. You know, I'm just talking from my own experience. As we're going through the thick of shit, okay, so is everybody else. My message on TikTok today was anchoring your light. Are you going and doing the work on yourself? It takes time. I've been trying to prepare people for months, if not years, preparing you to move into and out of that cave, get the inversions out of the way, that mirror reflecting itself, or see that through other people. Other people are the mirror to ourselves. And you can always choose a different timeline to jump into, that it's not a mirror anymore. We chose this. And as we're cycling out of the cave and as we're healing and as we're going about it, the hermitism is starting to repeat itself again. I noticed a lot of people are going through inner work, which is freaking fantastic. Introspection is a beautiful journey, painful, torturous, but necessary. Very necessary. The hermit solitude inflection is a must. Try it. I know a lot of people tell me they have a lot of families and stuff. You know, like, figure it out. How can you go in and change your responses, reactions, and transmute and transcend what no longer serves you? I know for me, in the last 3 weeks, no, maybe now a month, time is linear here. I have to remember that. I started feeling very invisible, unappreciated by the people that I put myself out there freely and volunteer for. I do a lot for other people. That sucks my energy and time away from the things that I need to do. But I do it because it helps a bigger, massive whole. It's a part of my mission, and I knew this going in. Coffee's happiness. And what I was brought to see is the paradigm getting like stalemated, stuck. We're seeing tests time and time again keep being flung at humanity, and universe is looking for the response. Did you change your reaction? Are you not getting stuck on the bandwagon train where everybody's thinking in this direction? Are you stopping at the train station and not jumping on just yet to that train? You'll catch the later one because you're looking at the bigger picture. You're looking at a grand master chessboard from the eagle-eye view, looking down and seeing all the pieces being played, and you're like, well, I'm not jumping on that bandwagon. And now my world kind of feels more, okay, dyslexia, a bit lonely, because you're no longer resonating with people that just jump on the bandwagon. And a lot of us are getting caught up into that arena where we feel invisible. I know for myself, you know, Dolores Cannon, Bashar, and a bunch of other people talk about this split and how some people are really going to fade away because you're now on a higher frequency. We kind of understand this notion, but we haven't experienced this notion. And now for myself, I'm experiencing it, and it's quite a lonely journey up here. It's lonely because I'm not having the support that I had when I was on the bandwagon. I'm not with the crowd anymore. I'm on my little journey by myself, like Yeshua going through the desert. Seeing one or two people here and there. But that's something that we all need to start embracing. I know that for myself, I'm used to being solo, so I don't really think I'm in a relationship anymore. Possibly. I don't know. I kind of got over it. If it continues, great. If not, whatever. At this point, I have to do what's best for me. And as we climb up in frequency, we are going to be kind of fading out of other people's existences and raising and lifting. And a lot of us are the first wavers, not first wavings in Dolores Cannon Starseed thing. We're like the first wave rescue team. We're going through this first. A lot of us are headed in this direction first. And it's a lonely journey getting to that area because we're all in different spots for a reason. We're anchoring the light. We're anchoring our frequency. We're becoming those lighthouses so that the people who are making this journey and this stair-step journey will meet us, and then more people are going to gravitate into the higher frequency. They're going to meet us, and we're going to help steer with them and help them out. But a lot of us are in this journey right now solo, and it's lonely. But we need to find the strength that the hermit is having its light shining on that cliff, waiting patiently. And it'll get to that point where more people will gravitate, will ask open questions and be more open-minded to your conversations and what you want to put forward. In the meantime, just keep seeding. Seed your truths, seed your abilities. And you can't be strong. I can't say that it won't create some conflicts because, even amongst the light workers, when I give my perception of what I see 5D as, and other bit like, no, you're wrong. No, I'm not wrong. That's my paradigm. That is my ascension. That might not be yours. You might be doing this. There is no right perception. There's no wrong perception. Your paradigm is yours. I notice this is happening when we're taking other words from other light sources, other light people, and you don't go in and hard align with it, or you do. When you project it out, it might not be for everybody. I know for myself, some people are just not on the level of awareness that I'm at. I'm already knowing my oversoul. A lot of my guides and all those acts, fractals and aspects of myself, I'm aware of a lot of it now. I'm having snapshots, vivid dreams. I'm in my light body. I've been in my light body for years. I can project my light body, right? And so can so many other people. I'm not special. I'm not here to put myself on a podium. But a lot of people banter back and forth, and we got to stop doing that. Whatever it is that's going to happen, we just have to accept and be fine with. We're moving on up. We're not coming back. I am not coming back in human form. I null and void all the contracts that would have me come back as human. I am not doing this anymore. Done. Goodbye. I want to be my hovering light body, helping and doing what I do now, but from a higher perspective. But it's a lonely road. And it's only one that you can take by yourself. You can't force anybody to come with you. You can't make somebody understand what you're trying to convey to them. They have to feel it. The biggest stalemate right now with the people that I'm still trying to grab to is you read something and project it to people, but you don't go in to feel it. There's a lot of people that do that. A lot. The messages are inversed. You don't know the truth, even if it's in a book, until you go inside to know if that is right for you. And if you are not doing that and working on your personal self, and you like, oh no, I know it's to be true, that's your ego telling you that. Did you feel it? Are you living it? Are you living the advice that you give? Because I know I live my advice. I don't speak anything. I don't waste my words of how to help if I am not taking that action myself. I walk the walk and talk the talk. Are you? And I feel that's why a lot of people are, magnetized against me, is because they want to feel secure in what information that they latch onto. They don't know how to feel it go inside their heart space and know it to be true for themselves. That's the scary part. I could read the Emerald Tablets a million times, right? And there's some stuff that I align with in there, but a lot of it I don't. A lot of stuff is not what you think it is. And until you read varied opinions and get different perspectives from all over, how do you know with you reading one document if it's true or not? You don't. Just like reading a Waspe and the Arantia book, it's a perspective from an alien race. It's not a human perspective. They're telling you a version of the events that happened here from their perspective. Once people really understand the metaphysics, like what metaphysics actually is and how things are perceived from each person is different, and the paper and the picture is going to be completely different depending what angle you're looking at it. The beautiful part of being individuated is the kaleidoscope of perception that we all bring to the table. That's why this world is so beautiful and so vast and amazing, because each of us brings a beautiful, harmonious picture to the surface for it to be manifested and then lived in. If we can't acknowledge that, I mean, do you know how powerful you really, seriously, do you know how powerful you really are? You don't even realize that you create your outer world. Do you? And that we do it collectively? If we would just learn to hone in and tune into our own soul and the mechanisms and frequencies that are in our own body, there's game changers happening. Are you meeting the energy? That's going to take time, but are you in that realization? And if so, are you walking it? Because the projection that people put out is still spellcasting in the negative. The clinging on to certain concepts and certain hopes. A certain VP was announced, and everybody was speculating it was one person. Now it's another. And then you lower your vibrations because you're like, oh man. When you expect an outcome, it isn't going to show up. if you know anything about manifestation, it's bringing yourself up to the level of excitement and joy and happiness, feeling it for real, imagining it playing out with all the bells and whistles, and then dropping it. Because then the universe will deliver to you if it's meant to be in your divine orchestration. You can try to manifest all day long, but you have to feel it. That's the hard part. We're not done quite yet with the Hermit's Journey, with reading Nisha, because I just finished Beyond Good and Evil. Because now, as we are elevating, we're most likely coming into divine neutrality. Seeing the middle way path, looking at both sides and choosing. You have to feed both wolves. You need to know this side in order to know that side. It's duality. We still live in it, and it's going to start fading as we move up. But we have to remember that for us, the ones who are up in another frequency, when people come up, they still might have the distortion of polarity. So we need to keep that in mind, that we need to know both aspects. We need to have compassion and forgive and come from the heart space, because once you do, you start loving all aspects of source. You understand why it had its purpose in the world. You stop feeding it energy, the evil side. You feed the wolf that's going to obtain you to the higher end, but you still have to pacify this wolf. You have to feed your pack, no matter what. You have to acknowledge that side, but stop feeding it its energy. And it's a continuous cycle. I keep seeing good intentioned people continue to judge, hate, shame, blame, and that's just feeding them. Loosh, I talked about it in personal survival and in the realms of the living dead. When you give something energy, your thoughts become things. It manifests in the outside world unconsciously. You're feeding them. You want them gone, and you want the wood chippers to come out, and that's wonderful. But guess what? When you feed it, it continues and perpetuates. It's just science, physics, higher end quantum physics, entanglement. You don't have to believe me. Is the shit show gonna end? Yeah, eventually, but I'm not perceiving the shit show. I'm rising above it. I'm not giving my attention to agendas or narratives being steered to play at your heartstrings and to lead you into not holding yourself accountable, especially in the financial stuff. But people are waiting instead of actually acting, doing the work, going to work. I'm always trying to produce something different. I'm thinking outside of the box. How can I propel myself? Because what I do is healing. How can I propel myself so we still have to live within the confines of this matrix. We're just living on a different frequency. But I still need to eat. I still have bills to pay. All of us do. So it's about reimagining what we're doing here and how to bring it up here, but then translate it back down here. It's a forever ping pong match. But stop feeding them. we'll go faster. Things will go faster. We already shifted within Ruth Montgomery. The cataclysms that were going to take place didn't take place. Lesser impacts took place. They continue to take place. People who are astrologers telling you about the astrology and all these shifts, yeah, they're going to happen, but it's up to us how severe it happens. If we keep shifting humanity as a whole, keep shifting to a higher frequency and changing the timeline, so the catastrophes, the wiping out of certain places are going to be lessened because people and innocent ones still live there. Everybody wants New York to burn. I have family there, and I have a lot of friends there that I would not like to see that happen to. So I don't want a tidal wave hitting New York. I know it's evil. I lived there. I lived on a Stargate with Draco. But do I want everybody to perish? No. If that's not in their soul contract, no. Things are going to happen regardless, but we get to determine the impact as a collective. And if you read books from back when, Ashiana Dean's as well, things have shifted. Timelines have shifted. So if we keep shifting to a higher frequency, to a better and higher, for not just our individual selves, but for the collective, more people come back out and do the work on themselves, things are going to start increasing more and more. And we're the boots on the ground. We're going to get people where they need to be. And then when they get to that spot where we once were, they're going to be helping others. It's a chain. There's nobody above another. It's stair stepping. And a lot of us are on different stairs, on different levels, and it's beautiful. And we got to continue this momentum moving up so that the entirety shifts and does it quicker with a soft landing. How's that? Like I said, coffee. The welcome. It was only late in the afternoon that Zarathustra, after much vain searching and roaming, returned to his cave again. As many of us. But when he was opposite it, not 20 paces away, that which he now least expected came about. Again, he heard the great cry of distress. And amazing, this time it came from his own cave. But it was a long, drawn-out, manifold, strange cry, and Zarathustra could clearly discern that it was composed of many voices. Though it heard from a distance, it might sound like a cry from a single mouth. Then Zarathustra leaped toward his cave, and behold, what a sight awaited him after this sound. For all the men whom he had passed by during the day were sitting there together, the king at the right and the king at the left, the old magician, the pope, the voluntary beggar, the shadow, the conscientious in spirit, the sad soothsayer, and the ass. And the ugliest man had put on a crown and adorned himself with 2 crimson belts. For like all who are ugly, he loved to disguise himself and pretend that he was beautiful. But in the middle of this melancholy party stood Zarathustra's eagle, bristling and restless, for he had been asked too many questions, for which his pride had no answer, and the wise serpent hung around his neck. Zarathustra beheld all this with great amazement. Then he examined every one of his guests with friendly curiosity, read their souls, and was amazed again. Meanwhile, all those gathered had risen from their seats and were waiting respectfully for Zarathustra to speak. But Zarathustra spoke thus: "You who despair, you who are strange. So it was your cry of distress that I heard, and now I also know where to find him, whom I sought in vain today, the higher man. He sits in my own cave, the higher man. But why should I be amazed? Have I not lured him to myself with honey, sacrifices, and the cunning siren calls of my happiness? Yet it seems to me that you are poor company, you who utter cries of distress, upset each other's hearts as you sit here together. First, someone must come, someone to make you laugh again, a good gay clown, a dancer in wind and wildcat, some old fool. What do you think? Pause. Gay is in the happiest definition and not of the gender. Sexual preference. Forgive me, you who despair that I speak to you with such little words, unworthy, verily, of such guests. Do you not guess what makes me so prankish? It is you yourselves who do it, and this sight of you. Forgive. Forgive me. For everyone becomes brave when he observes one who despairs. To encourage one who despairs, for that everyone feels strong enough. Even to me, you gave this strength, a good gift, my honored guests, a proper present to ensure hospitality. Well, then, do not be angry if I also offer you something of what is mine. This is my realm and my dominion. But whatever is mine shall be yours for this evening and this night. My animals shall serve you. My cave shall be your place of rest. In my home and house, nobody shall despair. In my region, I protect everybody from his wild animals. And this is the first thing I offer you, security. The second thing, however, is my little finger. And once you have that, by all means, take the whole hand. Well, my heart too. Be welcomed here. Welcome, my guests. Thus spoke Zarathustra, and he laughed from love and malice. After this welcome, his guests bowed again and were respectfully silent, but the king at the right hand answered him in their name. From the manner, O Zarathustra, in which you offered us hand and welcome, we recognize you as Zarathustra. You humbled yourself before us. You almost wounded our reverence. But who would know as you do how to humble himself with such pride? That in itself uplifts us. It is refreshing for our eyes and hearts. Merely to see this one thing, we would gladly climb mountains higher than this one. For we came eager to see, we wanted to behold what makes dim eyes bright. And behold, even now we are done with all our cries of distress. Even now our minds and hearts are open up and delighted. Little is lacking, and our spirits will become sportive. Nothing more delightful grows on earth, O Zarathustra, than a lofty, strong will. That is the earth's most beautiful planet. A whole landscape is refreshed by one such tree. Whoever grows up high like you, O Zarathustra, I compare to the pine, long, silent, hard, alone, of the best and most resilient wood, magnificent, and in the end reaching out with strong green branches for his own dominion, questioning wind and weather and whatever else is at home on the heights, with forceful questions and answerings, yet more forcefully a commander, triumphant. Oh, who would not climb high mountains to see such plants? Your tree here, O Zarathustra, refreshes even the gloomy ones. The failures, your sight reassures and heals the heart, even of the restless. And verily toward your mountain and tree, many eyes are directed today. A great longing has arisen, and many have learned to ask who is Zarathustra. and those into whose ears you have once dripped your song and your honey, all the hidden, the lonesome, the twosome, have all once said to their hearts, does Zarathustra still live? Life is no longer worthwhile. All is the same, all is in vain, or we must live with Zarathustra. Why does he not come who has long announced himself? Asked many. Has solitude swallowed him up? Or are we perhaps supposed to come to him? Now it happens that solitude itself grows weary and breaks like a tomb that breaks and can no longer hold its dead. Everywhere one sees the resurrected. Now the waves are climbing and climbing around your mountain, O Zarathustra, and however high your height may be, many must come up to you. I'm pausing there because I want you to reflect on that for yourself. And that we who were despairing have now come to your cave and no longer despair. That is but a sign and symbol that those better than we are on their way to you, for this is what is on its way to you, the last remnant of God among men. That is all the men of great longing, of great nausea, of great disgust, all who do not want to live unless they learn to hope again, unless they learn from you, O Zarathustra, the great hope. Thus spoke the king at the right, and he seized Zarathustra's hand to kiss it, but Zarathustra resisted his veneration and stepped back, startled, silent, as if he were suddenly fleeing into remote distance. But after a little while, he was back with his guests again, looking at them with bright, examining eyes. And he said, my guests, you higher men, let me speak to you in plain and clear German. It was not for you that I waited in these mountains. Plain and clear German? Good God, the king at the left said at this point, in an aside, one can see that he does not know our dear Germans, this wise man from the East. But what he means is coarse German, while these days that it does not the worst of tastes. You may indeed all be higher men, continues Zarathustra, but for me, you are not high and strong enough. For me, the means, for the inexorable in me that is silent, but will not always remain silent. And if you were to belong to me, it is not as my right arm. For whoever stands on sick and weak legs himself, as you do, wants consideration above all, whether he knows it or hides it from himself. To my arms and my legs, however, I shall show no consideration. I show my warriors no consideration. How then could you be fit for my war? With you, I should spoil my every victory, and some among you would collapse as soon as they heard the loud roar of my drums. Nor are you beautiful and well-born enough for me. I need clean, smooth mirrors for my doctrines, or your surface, even my own image, is distorted. Many a burden, many a reminiscence pressed on your shoulders. Many a wicked dwarf crouches in your nooks. There is hidden mob in you too, and even though you may be high and of higher kind, much in you is crooked and mishappened. There is no smith in the world who would hammer you right and straight for me. I'm going to put a pause there because there's a lot here. As your individuated self, every other person you interact with is a mirror for your own self. They exhibit your pain, your suffering, all the dislikes and distastes that you find within yourself. It's projected onto other people as other people are mirroring it back to you. A lot of distortion there. It's beautiful. but it's scary at the same time. You are mere bridges. Many men higher than you stride over you. You signify steps, therefore do not be angry with him who climbs over you to his height. A genuine son and perfect heir may yet grow from your seed, even for me. But that is distant. You yourselves are not those to whom my heritage and name belong. It is not for you that I wait in these mountains. It is not with you that I am to go down for the last time. Only as signs have you come to me, that those higher than you are even now on their way to me, not the men of the great longing, of great nausea, of great disgust, and that which you call the remnant of God. No, no, 3 times no. It is for others that I wait here in these mountains, and I will not lift my feet from here without them. It is for those who are higher, stronger, more triumphant, and more cheerful. Such are built perpendicular in body and soul. Laughing lions must come. Oh, my strange guests, have you not yet heard anything of my children, and that they are on their way to me? Speak to me of my gardens, of my blessed isles, of my new beauty. Why do you not speak to me of that? This present I beseech from your love, that you speak to me of my children. For this I am rich, for this I grew poor. What did I not give? What would I not give to have one thing, these children, the living plantation, these life trees of my will and my highest hope? Thus spoke Zarathustra, and suddenly he stopped in his speech, for a longing came over him, and he closed his eyes and mouth as his heart was moved. And all his guests, too, fell silent and stood in dismay. Only the old soothsayer made signs and gestures with his hands. As I was talking in the beginning about how we are becoming invisible to those people around us, how they just stop caring about you, or you're not on their priority list, that you don't feel the gratitude, you don't feel the connection that you once did. It's because you're elevating. And take your spot in the cave and be the Zarathustra, be this being with all the other aspects of himself that now he is in the cave healing from, standing up to all the aspects of self that no longer serve him, giving himself the wisdom. All those are just aspects of himself. That's the journey. All the masks you wear in society, drop them. All of it. The dark night of the soul is ego death. It's releasing. It's not to say to give up your identity and your character, but it's walking in your ultimate authenticity, your ultimate light. It's getting that obtainment to go and give yourself the permission slip to get there. He's talking to himself, this whole, the aspects of himself. And we can look at it in a human term and project that as everybody that it walks in our path is just reflections of ourselves that we need to heal. Lessons, distortions, issues, karmic. Everybody plays a role in your life. And yeah, sometimes it's heavy and sometimes it's devastating. I know for myself, it's been a nonstop continuum of everything looks so peachy keen in the beginning, and then it just crumbles away. But it's for me to learn and put my boundaries up and stick to them, which I kind of don't do all the time. It's knowing when to say I'm moving on. It's knowing when to walk in my truth fully. Are you? And it's a hard decision to make because you don't want to be left alone in the physical sense of the matter. But take that section and understand this is the position that a lot of us are in right now. A lot of us are traversing this space where there's a lot of undetermined unknowns. Fate is already there. It's just a matter of seeing it and raising the frequency and having more people. This is the work we signed up to do. We're embarking on a very unknown experiment that we chose to do. No one has ever done this in the universe. We signed up for this extraordinarily hard, difficult, and continuously mind-boggling experiment. And to aid others in this experiment. We just have to remember the blueprint. And that keeps unfolding as we keep elevating. The confusion is we're still in form in the material body, ping-ponging our energy back and forth, being upgraded and getting elated and getting downloads and getting our systems upgraded and our DNA, having all these memories come back to us, having all this information and knowledge to actually sift through. It's a process. We're all going through it, and we have never been to this extent, done this in any one of our incarnations before. We've come close in many cycles, and depending how many times you have incarnated in a body, in form, and been here and done the cycles, I'm still collectively trying to remember those things. The fall of Atlantis, the fall of Myria, the falls of different cycles, ice ages, and things of that nature. I'm still trying to recall, like, okay, so we got up to this point, and then, okay, now we got up to this point, and right, so here we are at the grand experiment, and we always got cut off and recycled and rebuilt up. And now we're at the dawn of a closing of a major and minor cycle. And this has never been done before. So we're in this cave, and everybody, some people are just starting to come to us, but we're here in the solo, in the hermit, dealing with our own shit to clear it, heal it, release it, to make room for the higher to come in. We are our own bridges to our own selves. Cheers to that if you have coffee, tea, or a drink. I'm going to read next on the higher man. And this is a long section, so I'm going to kind of chop this up. The first time I came to men, I committed the folly of hermits. The greatest folly. I stood in the marketplace, and as I spoke to all, I spoke to none. But in the evening, tightrope walkers and corpses were my companions. And I myself was amongst a corpse. But with the new morning, a new truth came to me. I learned to say, of what concern to me are market and mob noise and long mob ears. You hire men, learn this from me. In the marketplace, nobody believes in hire men. And if you want to speak there, very well. But the mob blinks. We are all equal. You hire men, thus blinks the mob. There are no higher men. We are equal. Men is men. Before God, we are all equal. Before God, but now this God has died. And before the mob, we do not want to be equal. You hire men, go away from the marketplace. If that doesn't describe what we're all going through right now, I don't know what does. I'm serious. For those of us who feel very invisible amongst the mob, the people, they're not hearing you. For me, what I speak is a harsher truth than people can even handle. They don't want to recognize it. They want to live in their illusory world where they are not taking the eagle-eye view. They're not ready for that step yet. But we are all equal. We're all one. Before God, now this God has died. The higher man, this God was your greatest danger. It is only since he lies in his tomb that you have been resurrected. Only now the great noon comes. Only now the higher man becomes Lord. Have you understood this word, O my brothers? You are startled. Do your hearts become giddy? Does the abyss yawn before you? Does the hellhound howl at you? Well, then you are a higher man. Only now is the mountain of man's future in labor. God died. Now we want the overman to live. The most concerned asks today, how is man to be preserved? But Zarathustra is the first and only one to ask, how is man to be overcome? I have the overman at heart. That is my first and only concern, and not man, not the neighbor, not the poorest, not the most ailing, not the best. Oh, my brothers, what I can love in man is that he is an overture and a going under. And in you, too, there is much that lets me love and hope. That you despise, you higher men, that lets me hope. For the great despairers are the great reverers. That you have despaired, and that there is much to revere. For you did not learn how to surrender. You did not learn petty prudences. For today, the little people lord it. They all preach surrender and resignation and prudence and industry and consideration and the long etc. of the small virtues. And I just want to put a note here. It's not God all that he's talking about at all. It's the deception, the false. That's what he's trying to point out. Like, but we have to have the ego death. To get there. You higher men overcome the small virtues, the small prudences, the grain of sand consideration, the ants riffraff, the wretched contentment, the happiness of the greatest number, and rather despair than surrender. And verily, I love you for not knowing how to live today, you higher men, for thus you live best. Do you not have courage, O my brothers? Are you brave? Not courage before witness, but the courage of hermits and eagles, which is no longer watched even by a god. Cold souls, mules, and blind, and the drunken, I do not call brave. Brave is he who knows fear, but conquers fear, who sees the abyss, but with pride, who sees the abyss, but with eyes of an eagle, who grasps the abyss with the talons of an eagle. That man has courage. Man is evil. Thus said all the wisest to comfort me. Alas, if only it were still true today, for evil is man's best strength. Man must become better and more evil, thus I teach. The greatest evil is necessary for the overman's best. It may have been good for the preacher of the little people that he suffered and tried to bear man's sin. But I rejoice over great sin as my greatest consolation. But this is not said for long ears. Not every word belongs in every mouth. These are delicate, distant matters. They should not be reached for by sheep's hooves. You higher men, do you suppose I come to set right what you have set wrong? Or that I have come to you that suffer to bed, you more comfortably, or to you that are restless, have gone astray or climbed astray to show you new and easier paths? No, no, 3 times no. Evermore, ever better ones of your kind shall perish, for it shall be even worse and harder for you. Thus alone, man grows to the height where lightning strikes and breaks him, lofty enough for the lightning. My mind and my longing are direct toward the few, the long, the distant. What are your many small, short miseries to me? You do not yet suffer enough to suit me, for you suffer from yourselves. You have not yet suffered from man. You would lie if you claimed otherwise. You all do not suffer from what I have suffered. It is not enough for me that lightning no longer does any harm. I do not wish to conduct it anyway. It shall learn to work with me, for me. My wisdom has long gathered like a cloud. It is becoming stiller and darker. Thus does every wisdom that is yet to give birth to a lightning bolt. For these men of today, I do not wish to be light or to be called light. These I wish to blind, lightning of my wisdom, put out their eyes. And leave it there. Because we're going to pick up the next time. There's so much that could be said, but this is why he's misinterpreted, because people are taking literal instead of looking at the analogies he's handing us. He's presenting also the balance between good and evil and within one's nature of self. He's not necessarily banning and saying God is dead, but what God is he talking of? What representation of the 3-letter word are we talking about? Are we talking about the all that is, or the minor aspects of source? Oh my God, Nisha says God's dead. Okay, yeah, it's heavy metaphysical work that he writes like this. But think of the conversation he's trying to have with you. How difficult this journey, getting to the top, moving up, ascending, getting to your place in the world, how difficult that is. And that struggle and that suffering is all within you. It's overcoming your own self. The overman, the higher man, is your higher self. which has a lot more varied powers than you have here. We're all in this thickness, the fog, the storm. It's here, and it's going to continue to be here. Once we all learn in our own way how to navigate this shift, where we feel again like we're hermits, we're again in a state of release, purging, reforming into a new self, a new sense of consciousness, a new, not having expectations, and collectively joining together and getting to this beautiful plane of existence and keeping the frequency there. That's where we're in the struggle right now. But this is all necessary steps in order to move forward. And unfortunately, or fortunately, many of us are the first ones to prepare for this new world and this new frequency, the new consciousness, and the whole 9 yards. It's a struggle because we haven't done it before. There is no memory. The only memory we have is that our higher selves already made the version of what we're looking for. It's crazy. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm tinkering on doing something new for my channel. A few people have reached out that they want to discover more of how I meditate. But like, I don't have the money to go purchase music, and YouTube is very silly with music and copyrights and a lot of that stuff. So I'm formulating, I have some instruments and stuff because I want to incorporate some, instead of just me talking and guiding you, because I can't do the music, but I can create my own. So I'm working with different, I'm working on it. I think the first one I want to do is kind of recapitulating. So releasing, confronting a situation, a person, place, or thing that traumatized you, upset you, that you have an issue with, and confronting them, and with love, telling them how you feel without like blowing up, but also recapitulating a better ending, releasing them out of your entanglement, out of your energy field. Some people are always going to be in your life for some whatever purpose, right? Or you're going to pass them by one day. It's just about healing and confronting them, telling them in the meditation like how you feel, but coming out of love, forgiving self and letting go. And I'm working on that. I got some of it down, but I'm working on trying to get maybe 1 or 2 done, and then I'll do a video so you can do it whenever you would like. It's coming soon. I have to finish writing it and playing around with different noises, and I don't have much, but I have some some stuff to work with. None, but in no way, trained in meditation. No way am I trained in anything. There are people who have training that still stink, and then there's people that naturally just, it channels it and it's beautiful. So I don't know how everybody's going to react to it, but I guess if I don't try, then I won't know. So look out for that. And if you can support by just liking, sharing, or subscribing to my channel, that would be fantastic. I understand if not, I'm not for everybody. I'm not everybody's cup of coffee. But I hope all of you have a blessed and beautiful day. Sending each and every one of you love, light, compassion, grace, shielding, and protective energy. Please go within. Be the physical shoulder for someone to lean on. Be the lighthouse. See your truths. And anchor your energy into the earth. And I hope to see you guys on the next one. Know that you're really not alone. Physically, it might be, but hopefully, the more of us that get up here, we won't feel so invisible anymore. Until the next time, guys. Bye for now.